Joker Folie A Deux, or Madness for Two, from director Todd Phillips, is DC's next and only big movie release this year, currently scheduled to come out in theatres on October the 4th, 2024. Ever since the announcement of a Joker 2 with Phillips returning as director, Joaquin Phoenix coming back as Arthur Fleck, and Lady Gaga joining the project as the infamous Harley Quinn, I've been waiting to see more from the project, wondering whether this could be a comic book film that turns out to be a genre-defining one. Other than Dune Part 2, Joker 2 is probably my most anticipated film of this year, and while yes, I'm excited because it's coming off the back of a great first film, there's many other reasons why the thought of a sequel to this actually excites me. Many people have mixed thoughts on there being a new installment, and while I think their concerns are mostly justified, I'm personally looking forward to it. I think it can go against the trend of samey movies that we've been seeing from the comic book genre recently, in some ways similar to how the first Joker film gave us something fresh, just this time in a completely new way. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing why I believe Joker 2 has the potential to be one of the best comic book movies in the next few years, and why I'm particularly excited to see it. Before I get into it though, if you want to see much more videos on Joker 2 leading up to its release date, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's discuss why Joker 2 is so anticipated. So 2019's Joker film was a project that I personally loved, being a separated character study, giving us an artistic endeavour into the complex madness behind one of the biggest villains in pop culture. It had an Oscar-winning performance, audiences loved it, and it became a huge success at the box office. On a small budget of about $55 million, it made nearly $1.1 billion in return, and that meant it resulted in one of the biggest budget to profit ratios in recent cinematic history. People loved the original Joker film, and on paper it seemed a no-brainer that you make a sequel if you were Warner Brothers. But we've seen studios before capitalize on big hits and milk them dry to the point where it becomes solely a business endeavor and not one directed through trying to make a better sequel with true purpose. For instance, look at what Disney have done with Star Wars and its recent sequels. But with Joker 2, we've got quite the different situation. We have an actor like Joaquin Phoenix, who is notoriously known for only signing up to projects after reading the script and really believing that the story and characters involved can be an artistic endeavour of cinematic meaning. Not in a million years after watching that original Joker film would I predict that Joaquin would be on board to do a sequel. But it is happening, and to me, that says that this is more than just a cash grab sequel if an actor like this is committed. Then on top of that, you've got the same writers as the original Joker in Scott Silver and Todd Phillips, with a likely return for other Oscar-nominated production workers too. And if we consider that they've added talent like Lady Gaga to the project, an actress who in her two first films has proved that she can actually act and pull off great performances, then it kind of excites me for a different take on this beloved character of Harley Quinn. Think about how Joaquin gave us a very unique take on Joker with Arthur Fleck in the original film, and then think about, well, what if this new script calls for a unique take like that on Harley Quinn? Gaga played two vastly different characters in A Star Is Born and House of Gucci, and while you may like or dislike those films, I think it's agreed upon that her performances have stood out in both as being pretty great. Add on that her singing is almost perfect, and that this Joker sequel is going to be influenced by musicals, and it seems like the right choice. So just based on those early points, while Joker 2 on paper as a sequel sounds ridiculous and isn't needed, it can work if the talent is used correctly and the right creative choices are made. Now, I do share some of the concerns people have about a Joker 2 film, and the main one is the need for a sequel after how the first film ends. It could go very very badly if the film is creatively not that great. But when it comes to the idea of comic book films today, I think there's many reasons to be excited about this over the plethora of other films filling that genre right now. When analysing comic book movies today, we're currently looking at a time where it seems that audiences want something different. The universe-driven movies seem to be on a fall in both quality and box office performance, and while I hope that all types of comic book movies can thrive in the theatrical market at the same time, it's hard to ignore that viewers just want better made films in the genre. There have been a few standout films in recent years though, and they tend to be the ones situated outside of the universes, whether it be examples like Logan, the Batman, the original Joker, or a few others. These types of movies, while different in style, approach, and story, tend to ground their narratives and characters in a more real and desperate world. There's an urgency or even a relatability in these films from an individual sense, and they don't rely on the tropes of the genre, nor narratives that have to build on from previous movies with varying tones. They can build their worlds on screen in a single movie or separately across a few films, and they really give us the meat of the narratives right from the get-go. Just in my opinion, there's a lot of comic book films in recent years that have sucked a lot of the oxygen out of the cinematic. I prefer seeing the comic book movies that feel like actual cinema and give us more fresh takes on the genre. And while you could argue that films like Joker take a lot of influence from other classics of the past, what movie in general doesn't take at least some influence? For me, it's how you use that influence to create something unique for the character and genre you're approaching, presenting your story in a fascinating way for the medium that it lies in. I think 2019's Joker did that, and when looking at what we might get in the sequel, I think there's an opportunity here to double down. It's been confirmed that Folie A Deux is being considered partly in the musical genre, building off some of the scenes in the first film which had elements of that genre already. We had the bathroom dance after the murders on the train, we had the iconic stair sequence, and the moments at the very end of the film where Arthur Fleck embraces the madness that has consumed him. It was as if that film was warming us up to the twisted musical nature of Arthur's psychology, both in twisted and emotional ways. So now that this iteration of Joker has arrived, it only makes sense that Todd Phillips and co add more of that musical aspect to it, getting us further into the heads of Joker and Quinn at Arkham State Hospital and telling the story through a fascinating new lens. It can be done in a way that reflects some great musicals of the past, but also in a way that's new for this genre too. When thinking about its musical influence, I think of an example like the 2002 Oscar-winning musical film Chicago, a movie that was mostly set in a prison cell, but a film that also uses its musical sequences and landscape to elevate the whole story and its meaning. For a Joker film, this could be less on the nose and more grounded and twisting, using its musical numbers to explore both the psychological themes and also the unreliability of our two main characters. It can be another unique take on this Gotham world, feel less like a sequel and more like its own new viewpoint within the frameworks of a whole new subgenre. Speaking of that different viewpoint, it's no secret that a lot of that is going to be thrusted on screen through the introduction of Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. While I can go on about the reasons why I think she's a great actress and musician for the part, the narrative and settings that are being teased to us in behind the scenes footage and images are what really excites me the most. Videos of Arthur being chased down the streets of Gotham and those of Gaga transforming into Quinn could be a mixture of stuff like Joker grappling with his madness spreading, or Harley Quinn being somewhat inspired or struggling with a developing mental illness like Arthur was in the first film. In turn, we could see why Quinn individually decides to embrace her madness and why that subtitle truly reads as Madness for Two. The potential of Joker is that it can be took in any direction because of the clown prince of crime and Harley Quinn's psychological unpredictability. trilogy, and this could feed into the very notion of different viewpoints by using the musical genre. For instance, we might get a musical scene of Arthur dancing throughout the halls of Arkham State Hospital, and in his twisted mind, he's shooting workers there and singing in a fragile state about how he is in control of them and how it's not the other way round. I think this is all going to build on that ending from Joker 1, where some people in Gotham had been inspired by the Joker after the decline of political matters in the city. There's already been images released from both inside and outside of a courtroom, and just from speculation, I'd guess that this might take place around the consequences of Arthur killing Murray in the first film, essentially building on how he sees things after that murder and how others see him both in a despicable way and in a way of twisted inspiration too. Whatever happens and whatever musical route it takes based on that, I see this being a more realistic film and, like the first movie, relating to our real world in big thematic ways. So ultimately, I think there's context here for Joker 2 to be, yes, part unique, but also expansive in its storytelling too. Through the lens of two characters, there's the opportunity to not just build on the ideas introduced by the first film, but also there's a chance to do it in a completely new way for a completely different type of film. This is probably less of a comparison, but remember when each film of Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy gave us standout approaches in multiple genres. Batman Begins was part a superhero origin tale and part a neo-noir film. The Dark Knight was also a noir, but it had the influence of Michael Mann's Heat by being a crime thriller. And The Dark Knight Rises was more of an apocalyptic epic than the other two movies were. They brought unique flavours with every film, and it ended up expanding the whole trilogy and giving us a fresher outlook every time. So with the original Joker being a character study and Folie A Deux continuing that through more of a musical lens, I think there's the potential for this to be a very unique film in the comic book genre. We'll have to see what the trailers provide us with leading up to its release to get a better idea, but the early signs of the film exploring different genres, new characters, and broadened central themes makes me believe that this can be a really special project. A film that stands apart both in shocking and satisfying ways, and maybe a project that surpasses the original. There's still a lot of concerns surrounding whether it will actually work, but hopefully, like with that first movie, the trailer can be important in setting a good tone. But they were the reasons why I think Joker 2 could be the best comic book film from the last few years. Like every movie, when going into Joker 2, I will of course leave my expectations at the door and judge it when I see it. The points I've raised in this video are purely from a before seeing the film perspective and listing the reasons why it can be unique for the genre based on what we've heard and what we saw in that original film. Alongside The Batman Part 2, it's probably the comic book film I'm most anticipating, and I hope it can live up to those expectations with a highly unique and satisfying movie. We'll soon find out this October if Joker Folie A Deux is another meaningful film and whether it can attract a lot of people just like the original Joker did. I'm intrigued to hear what you guys think towards the potential of a Joker 2, alongside whether you think it's capable of being a genre-defining comic book movie that stands alongside examples like the first film, Logan, The Dark Knight, and so many more. So let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos surrounding Todd Phillips Joker 2 leading up to its release date, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.